Maine, and our registered deeds, Karen Jackson.
Okay. Do we have any materials for item 7? Budget discussion.
Item 7, budget discussion.
I'm on finance.
Oh,
Why that?
thank you.
I'm gonna say,
I was-
8, we got
But it's 2
the
tables.
public defender's office.
Right? I'm like, I'm
I'm
like,
supposed to
this
make
is
those
new.
kind of mistakes. Come on,
Like, I don't know where this is coming from. Here we go.
we depend on you to straighten up my mistakes.
It's unfortunate that's all recorded.
Okay, I have 9 o'clock, so I'd like to call to order the Isabel County Board of Commissioners, Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee meeting. First up, we have an approval of the agenda. Is there anything that need to be added or deleted?
I have none. Yeah.
Okay, seeing none, I will approve the agenda as presented. Okay, we have a call to the public. Would you gentlemen like to say anything? Not yet, okay. Anybody online at this time would like to make comments?
There's not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, seeing none, I'll close the call to the public and there will be another opportunity at the end of the meeting to make comments, so. Let's get right into the agenda. First up is considering approving the fiscal year 2025 Isabella County Community Correction Plan application in the amount of $127,634.34 and authorize the board chairperson to sign the same. So, and we have online, Ms. Curtis, would you like to address this?
Yes, thank you. Unfortunately, Andy could not be here today, so I am going to present the grant application for him. So this year's application is very similar to last year. Last year, we received an award of $104,091, which was the highest award we had received to date. This year's application amount is $127,634.34. We are continuing all of the programs that we had last year, just making some adjustments based on utilization and payroll. We are also being more intentional about allocating supplies and those types of items directly to the grant applications, and asking for some reimbursement for duties that the community service coordinator covers in the community corrections coordinator's absence. So that really outlines the differences in the application amount from 24 to 25.
Okay, I know there was some minor changes from last year, but this, or some, not some minor changes, but some differences, but basically nothing changed this year.
Correct. Last year, we started that opiate meth inpatient program in conjunction with MDOC and TRICAP. That is doing very well. That currently has 5 individuals participating. So for the next fiscal year, we are adding 1 additional request for funding within that. So that total would be at 6. It does take quite a while, so we're trying to keep the numbers low, just so that we can make sure that we are not overestimating what we need and then giving money back. So it's just going to be an adjustment process. If we need to ask for more funding for that later in the year, that tends to be something that we can do because other counties have this program and they may not be utilizing it. So that's the big difference from last year to, or that we started last year.
Yep. Like I said, I don't have any questions.
I don't.
We've kind of seen it
I'm good. I'm
last year.
glad we moved forward with that. I'll make a motion to, I move to bring forward the consideration approving the fiscal year 2025 Isabella Community Corrections Plan application in the amount of $127,634.34 to the Board of Commissioners meeting next Tuesday.
I will support that. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, same. The motion has passed and we'll move that forward to the work session.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Gary. Okay, next up. We have consider approving the rapid SOS order form RS OS dash 8510461556, the amount of $9,121.14 for 3 years and authorized board chair to sign the same. We have Director Griffith with us today to talk about.
Yep, this is a 3-year contract for the Rapid SOS. This is an enhancement. It's already been requested and funded through a generous 2% grant that we are doing with our AED program. This will enhance our capabilities of locating people. You see where it talks about the automatic number identification and automatic location identification, and some integrated GIS skill sets. It's computer stuff. That's the best way I can describe it. So this will give us an opportunity for 3 years to evaluate it at the higher level to see if it's something that we need to really continue on at this point, but it's a great part of the program that we intended to launch when we did the AED program. So I'm hoping you'll consider the funding for it. Total cost will be the $27,363.42 overall for the 3-year commitment to it, plus the installation one-time setup fee. And it's already been budgeted for. The grant's already been awarded, so the funding is there. So
Mike, go ahead. I guess I'm just kind of trying to not be the tech guy.
you're gonna ask me
Right.
tech questions. This one I might struggle a touch with, but what I can tell you is helping locate the person is better for us at 911. The faster we can do it, the address locations and stuff is critically important, obviously to be able to send help there. And so this is a premium service that is offered, and we're gonna see how much that premium service actually gets used. We've had a couple of services in the past that we've also attempted to employ, and when they have not gave us the return on investment that we want, we've not done them anymore. So we're looking forward to this. The Rapid SOS portal is an extremely valuable tool. You see a lot of things now that can call 911 or software can do 911. And this information gets funneled in and then can come into a 911 center in an organized manner to help the dispatcher get the dispatching done quickly. So when and if you approve this, and we get this up and running, perhaps we can come back and even do a show and tell with you guys to show what the difference was between these two. So we just thought it was really critically important to try and give the best service and safety to the customers. So that's what we're trying to do.
So initially it will determine when the call comes in. That's how they determine.
There's a whole set of stuff that we have, billions of dollars in infrastructure in 911 for resiliency and redundancy and stuff. And this is an enhanced one that will also give us another enhancement to it. It's not the primary one. So the GIS is the mapping, the anti-alleys, the locating of the call and the person. And so this is a software product that enhances our current tools. So we're looking very much forward to some of the deployments that are coming out here in the future. I'm about having backups.
Yes.
So
So how long does a system like this, when someone makes a call, how long does it take before they determine the location? Is that an automatic thing?
you want to find out? We can tell you what it is today, right now, right here on TV. if you
Please,
want.
yes. I'm just curious. I know I'm in that kind of mood.
All right,
Like I said, I understand it, but I'm not sure.
let me do one quick thing here. See, it's not the benefit of 2 cell phones, but so 773-1000 for those of you online who are watching. So
That'll work.
this is well, this will work. This is a business phone line and 911 will work. So I'm just making sure we're not dealing with a car accident or anything right
Making
now.
sure it's not a
About
bad
the
time to
services.
Yeah.
So, hi, this is Director Griffiths. Is it okay to give a 911 phone call right now? Okay. Okay, I'm on a criminal justice meeting for the world to see on YouTube, so you're gonna get a 911 phone call next. Talk to you soon. Okay.
What could go
He
wrong?
doesn't have to do his hair.
Uh,
Check in the mirror. Not wearing that bagel.
No one knows.
So this system that we're talking about doing the services on. Hello, this is Mark Griffiths with a test call for 911. We're wondering how long it takes you to determine where my phone is located at using the 911 services that we currently have.
Here at 2200 South Lincoln Road.
So it'll be faster than that or back up to that is our plan. Director Griffiths, he has it. So that's dispatcher Hadley, been with the department several years. Great. I'm gonna cut you loose in case
Okay,
you get a
thank
real
you.
911 call.
Thanks, Patrick.
So in the event, even our primary systems go down, this is another way to provide a backup for locating stuff. So I don't know that it will necessarily make it instantly faster or whatever else. I can tell you what would be better, more resilient to have more tools in our toolbox to serve the public. And so, and you know, if you or the public would ever like, we'd love to do a demo and show you that stuff at some point. We do have the ability to do text to 911 now. We do have the ability now that in certain situations, 911 can send you a text and you can actually accept it, and then we can see the video. So say you're reporting a large grass fire, it helps us give information to the fire departments as we go forward, or say there's some type of crime in progress and we can get that link to you and you can actually have a picture or video of a suspect or something like that. So that's
Is there any difference between a landline, like some of the, like an older person?
Yep. Yeah, landlines are tied right to an address, right? So this is trying to geolocate through the
Right.
GPSs and that
Through
stuff.
GPS,
So,
but
so I
landline
mean,
dropped
landline, we know
right now,
wherever,
like,
yeah, wherever you
19.
registered at, it was that address, 123 house,
Okay,
right?
that comes up.
So, yep, so that does have its own set of benefits. The limitations are obviously you can't go mobile from your house phone, maybe 25 feet or small closest phone. So
On the internet phone.
internet phones, VoIP, that comes through voice over internet protocol. It's extremely important that when people do have that as their primary function, they set their address. We have had people who have called
They're in
911
Toronto.
and set their address as Texas and they're actually here.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure we understand stuff like that. So
Okay, I'll leave you alone. I'm just kind of curious and
we are always happy to show and tell at 911 all the great skill set that the people have and you know, what we can do and provide for services. So.
Yeah, it
Thank you.
looks like this could be critical if there's a need.
as long as
Yeah, if there's a need.
That,
there's a need, yeah.
No,
That's how it
we
works.
hope we don't hit that level. So,
and that's what emergency services.
Right. Yep.
I'll make a motion to move forward the consideration approving the rapid SOS order form. RSOS -85104615556 in the annual amount of $9,121.14 for 3 years. And authorize the board, to the Board of Commissioners meeting.
I'll support that. Any more discussion?
Me.
Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. The motion has passed and we'll move that forward to the work session.
thank you for your time,
Thanks.
everyone. Have a great morning.
Okay. Okay, next up, consider approving the memorandum of understanding, data transfer and use agreement with the Board of Trustees of the Leland Stratford Junior University and authorize board person to sign the same. Boy. Sputtering all over the place. Okay, so who do we have?
We have Register of Deeds Karen
Karen?
Jackson on. I don't see her camera. I do see her unmuted now.
So this agreement, it covers the memorandum of understanding, which we want with the Stanford Law School. The agreement is actually with the Board of Trustees for the Leland Stanford Junior University, who is collaborating the project. The memorandum of understanding and data transfer and use agreement is covering sending the information that they need for access to the documents, that they're going to be using this AI tool that they're developing that identifies the discriminatory language in scanned property deeds. And their end game, basically their goal is to essentially identify what this early discrimination has done to how we have developed the property today, or are there still restrictions in, although we don't allow restrictions in the way that we develop property today, are there still ways that those early restrictions have curtailed the way that property is developed in our current use, essentially? Is it still having an effect on our society today and our community today? The only expense will be the legal expense that we put forth for legal to go through the contracts. Because they are a law school, I asked them to prepare the documents themselves, and they agreed to do that. So we did send those over for legal. Legal did go over those. They were very, Mr. Peroni was very quick in getting to those, went over those. I identified a few things that I had an issue with. I had those had them correct those things before we sent those on. He didn't have an issue with any of the documents. The automation fund will be taking care of those legal expenses, so there won't be any expense to the general fund. We did move that money 2 weeks ago so that we were able to do this project. I think the rest of it is pretty much straightforward. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do.
Sure.
So you're looking through the deed. Are they gonna be getting into liens and leases in there, and I'll let you answer that one first. If there's
So
there's a
what
lien,
they're looking for are restrictions that the restrictions were put on a regular deed. So you can have a deed restriction. Restrictions were put on subdivisions. Restrictions were also put on, so we have what we call unrecorded subdivisions, which are someone goes and makes a survey and they call it an estate, and they plat the land. It looks a lot like a subdivision, but it's not subdivided, and they can only sell it in certain portions at a time in order to avoid the subdivision laws. But they still put restrictions on those meets and bounds areas. And some of those restrictions had discriminatory language in them. And so those are all the different things that they're looking for. So it might be in an individual property deed. It might be in a recorded subdivision, in the restriction or the restrictions for that subdivision. And it might be in restrictions in an unrecorded subdivision.
Yeah, I guess my only concern is if there's a, you know, if there's a property that's as collateral and there's a lien onto it from a bank or something, is that separate? They will not get into that information? Or if there's a privacy concern?
They're not getting into that. There's also, and this is the old historical information. We
Okay.
all know since the sixties that, they have not been able to put that information on there. They are also not allowed to disclose any of the information. Their use or, purpose is only to use that information to develop this tool. What they have agreed to in this data and use agreement is obviously in order to prove their tool, they will come back with, they need a sampling of documents to show that the tool works essentially. And those will be old documents that are recorded, which technically they can get off our website anytime they want, because if there's a document out there, the law says we have to allow anybody access to that document. So it's not something we can restrict them from, but in this data and use agreement, they have agreed before they put that information out there, proving these are the documents that they looked at, and they're only going to publicize that information, showing how they essentially their proof, and this is how this tool works. That information they have agreed to send to us and allow us to view first. So if we have an issue with it, then they'll look for another document to show that proof.
I got another question. It's not related to this. So do you have any questions?
I don't, I think I've got a clear understanding of this now. Before I wasn't sure whether this was a two-way agreement where they'd identify documents for us that have discriminatory language that we'd clean up. But this just seems like a data, providing data to a research, so.
They are doing research. They are also on the back end, they will provide us with that information. At this point, Michigan law does not allow us to go in and redact those documents. Some states, the law does allow them to go in and redact those documents. They will provide us with the information. So at some point, if Michigan law changes, and in California, the law said they had to go back and redact those documents. So at some point, if Michigan law says, hey, you have to go back and redact those documents, we will have that information and know which documents that we have to go back and redact.
Right.
So we will have that advantage. We will have the information that we need to go back and redact those documents, because they're old historic documents. That information doesn't change.
Thank you.
Okay, my other question, and what has nothing to do with this, is just, are we all updated as far as all the old deeds being digitized, or is there still some out there that are not, that are in the old books yet is not upgraded? I know you were working on that for a while to get all them in there. Can you give me an update on that?
So all of our documents have been digitized. So we have the digital images. They have not all been indexed. We have some documents that are not indexed completely. And that's why we have that quick links out there, that additional tool out there that allows people to go online and view those documents. And that's through our tracked index.
Okay, that was my question I had, so Just,
And staff has been working on that. And has made great progress. So whenever we have a free time, that's something that we work on.
Right, I'll make a motion, move forward the consideration approving the memorandum of understanding and data transfer and use agreement with the Board of Trustees of the Leland Stanford Junior University and to the Board of Commissioners meeting next Tuesday.
I will support that. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, we will vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. That motion has passed and we'll move that forward to our work session. So next up is consider approving the memorandum of understanding for the direct submission of recordings with the government owes and authorize the board chairperson to sign the same.
Okay, so this is another memorandum of understanding and this is another project that the only cost is was for legal to go over the memorandum of understanding. GovOS prepared the document. So legal just had to go over and approve the document. So the only financial impact was for that approval from legal. I did use money from the ROD Automation Fund to cover those expenses. This is something that our software vendor, it's a new tool that they have for direct submission. We already have 4 vendors that people can use, companies can use for submitting electronic recording. The issue is those submitters have a kind of a rotating scale. So if you are a large submitter, like Chicago Title, you pay a much lesser amount than a smaller submitter. What that's doing is leaving some of the, like our local banks, the local attorney's offices, a lot of the title companies are kind of left out because they're a small quantity submitter, so they pay a much larger amount. And so instead of submitting, they're either mailing those documents to us, sending them UPS, FedEx, or the ones that are really local are bringing those to us. The issue with our new location, temporary location, and they're coming here, they're now not able to walk across the street and bring those documents to us. They're traveling to bring them to us. It's extra time for their employees. Also, it gets congested down there at the front desk. We call the treasurer's office out to have to do the tax certificates. When we have something from UPS or FedEx, they're being delivered to the courts building. Someone has to go over and pick those up, bring them over here. If the documents aren't correct, then we do the corrections, correction letter. We have to physically drive those over to a FedEx or UPS, drop those back off. Then we know they're coming back. It's just kind of a crazy, mixed up mess right now. A lot of them wish that there was a different way. They have a runner that brings them over. The issue is the runner doesn't know how to make a correction. So even if it's something simple, that runner can't make that correction and get the document recorded. They take it back. Sometimes they come back that same day. It's just an interruption in that attorney's schedule, in the schedule down at the front desk. This is something that would alleviate a lot of that. It allows them to, at a much reduced rate, to electronically submit the documents. if there is an error in the documents, we can let them know what that error is. Shoot it, it goes right back to them, shoots it right back to them. They can make that correction, send it back to us. If it's something that needs a tax certificate, we forward it right on to the treasurer's office. It sits in their queue. It's a lot more convenient than calling them out every time someone comes in. It can sit in their queue. They get a few of them, they put those tax certificates on them and send them back to us. It makes things a whole lot more convenient for everybody all around. Those runners aren't continuously running across town, bringing the documents to us. And I think it's something that is going to work out really well when we move back to the county building, especially if we get people used to this whole process now. A lot of people don't like change, but right now they're really open to that change because it's hard for them to bring things here and bring them back and then bring them back, back over here. And this is a good solution. I've talked to several of the ones that are bringing the documents here, and this is a good solution for them. The documents that are coming UPS and FedEx, our plan is to send information to those submitters so that they know and they're aware of the fact that we have this coming as soon as we have this in place and we know when it'll be available. So then that allows them to know that there is another option. Right now, most of the FedEx, UPS, they're paying $8 and more to send those documents to us. And if there's an error, then they have to pay that again for it to come back. And then they send a prepaid envelope for us to send those documents back to them. So they're paying that sometimes 3 and 4 times. The company will charge $2.50. There's not a lot of money to be made on our end. We will probably charge 50 cents in the beginning to try to get people signed up. We can charge up to an additional $1, but then that's the maximum. Once people are signed up. This allows them to be able to do their business in a much more efficient manner, us to do business in a much more efficient manner. And I think there is a little window of opportunity for us to make some money at this, especially as we move forward. I think this will be a great tool for us now and a great tool for us as we move forward.
Yeah, I know for the first couple of times I used DocuSign, I was a little nervous on it, but now it's like, it's such a time saver. It's just, yeah, it's a good move. I said I didn't need to physically come anymore, so. The technology's there. Excuse me.
Sounds like progress.
Move to bring forward consideration approval of the memorandum of understanding for direct submission of ER recordings with GovOS and authorized board chair to sign at the Board of Commissioners meeting next Tuesday.
I will support that. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. That has passed. And we will move that forward to the work session. Okay, next up and last on our agenda is discussion regarding the future structure. I can't speak today. Of Isabella County Public Defender's Office. We have Public Defender Hausman today, so thank you for being here.
Morning.
Good morning.
I'll try to get through this without mumbling through anything, so.
Yeah, so I know, we've kind of had this discussion a few times in the past regarding, what's the proper next steps for the Public Defender's Office. We've been a county department here for almost 5 years. And so, there's my understanding when it was first presented, when we did that feasibility study, is that it was presented as there were 2 options, either doing it as a county department or doing it as a nonprofit. And we chose to go with the county department. And as things transpired over the course of the past 5 years, I think it's time that we maybe reevaluate that. And then kind of look at the possibility of reforming as a nonprofit. I know last week I circulated a study that was done by the National Association of Public Defense about Kent County's indigent defense system. I think realistically looking at that, I think it provides a blueprint for exactly what not to do. I think it's actually very helpful. I've known that this report was going to be coming out, made public for the past few months. When I talked to MIDC, that's one of the questions. That's one of the things they warned me about, was the study was coming out and it was not going to shed a positive light on a neighboring defense system. And it was released last week and they provided it to me and I think, again, I think it provides a blueprint for exactly how to do a nonprofit public defense system. And I think it shows what not to do. Our grant is due April 22nd for fiscal year 25. And so right now I've kind of been preparing two different grant applications, one remaining as a county department, one as a nonprofit. So we've gotten quotes from, insurance companies about benefits, and then we've had discussions with MERS about, how we would provide retirement to our employees going forward and things like that. And so I think it's something we should explore. I think it's a good time to make that transition if we were going to. I think MIDC has told me that it's not necessarily a plan change, so it's not something that we would have to do with the new grant application, that we could do it mid-grant year. But I think it makes most sense to do it with a new grant application.
And let's understand, applications due April for October implementation.
Correct.
Correct?
And so I think it opens us up to allowing us to provide a better service to the community by going that route. Because I believe that, we could potentially ask for, seek out other funding sources, whether that be 2% grants or things like that, to provide some of that coverage that we're not allowed to because of our ties to MIDC. So, one of the things is, we don't cover neglect and abuse hearings because that's not part of our funding. Our funding is criminal cases only. Well, if we had outside funding that maybe covered an attorney position in our office, we could do that. Or we could, jump on handling juvenile delinquency cases sooner than MIDC is going to say that we're able to, which is coming in probably 2 to 3 years. We're going, juvenile delinquency is going to fall under the MIDC umbrella. That my understanding is that was the only juvenile justice bill that was not signed in December was covering that. So I mean, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. But through a nonprofit, we could potentially jump on that earlier. There's also the possibility, and we've discussed this for the past 2 or so years, is this attorney shortage and not having that coverage. There is the potential, and I see in the future that probably you're going to see counties start to kind of team up to do kind of regionalized offices in order to help cover those hearings because you're not able to right now. And so I think aside from juvenile justice, I think that the next step is you're going to see counties band together to form regional offices and regional hubs for the providing of indigent defense. So I think this is the first step towards being able to do that. I'm not saying October we're going to team up with some other county and provide this, but I think that's the next step that's probably going to happen.
I was shocked at how few county department public defender offices there are. Or that you're aware of.
Correct, yeah.
That was shocking to me.
I think in the not only the report that I sent out, but I believe there's a accompanying news article from Wood TV. And in there, they talked about 30 other counties having public defenders offices, but I'm not aware of that. The only ones that I know of that are county departments are us and Macomb. I could be wrong. There could be others, but those are the only two that I know of off the top of my head. I know obviously Kent County is a nonprofit, but they might be doing the opposite of what I'm seeking to do based on the report. Kent County, Kalamazoo County, there's a 3-county kind of consortium up in the UP that's Houghton, Baraga, and Keweenaw. Alpena Montmorency is a nonprofit, Saginaw is a nonprofit, Wayne County is a nonprofit. So yeah, I think the nonprofits seem to far outweigh the county department ones. And why that is, no, I don't know why that is, but I think, you know, the change certainly doesn't impact the local share. The local share is still the same, the $240,306.09. That's still the same. And so going to a nonprofit, obviously we would need to have a board of directors. I've kind of, you know, threw my line in the water on that and got some people that would be interested in doing this. Some partners from community mental health, both on the adult side and on the juvenile side, anticipating that change. I think logically, someone from the CJ committee should be on that board of directors. Should we go that route? Because that local share is still there. And we're tied to the county regardless. So I think that's important to have.
And it's your intention to stay in the facility you're at on Health Parkway because of the MIDC funding that went into rehabbing that building to make it a public defender's office.
That would be my plan. And Saginaw County does do the same thing. They are a nonprofit, but they rent their building from the county. It is a county building. They pay their rent to them. You know, that would be my hope.
And it's not that, and the other conversations going on, it's not that you could never move or the county could never do something else with.
Correct.
There might be some payback, right, involved to MIDC, should we? So I just think
Correct.
we should keep that
Correct.
in your mind. But as we're thinking of the future nonprofit county department, we're thinking Health Parkway, at least right now.
Correct.
How do you visualize the process to move to October 1st transition? I mean, seems like a short timeline.
Pulling out the rest of my remaining hair would be
No.
the first
because,
step.
I recommend just shaving it off. It hurts less.
That's the next step. Like I said, I've done a majority of the I mean, I've sat down with Julie McNeil from Saginaw Bay Underwriters. She's done quotes for us for insurance. Realistically, the only thing that changes is our structure. And so, you know, the dollar amount doesn't change that
No.
much. It really doesn't. You know, insurance for an office of 15 people versus a county of 256 costs us a little bit more. But I mean, it's not, you know, going out and getting
I
a
get
super
that.
Cadillac plan versus what we have now or anything like
I'm
that.
not concerned about the money
Yeah.
transition. I'm like, yeah, the process, you have to develop a plan, you have to develop, you know,
Bylaws.
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 Yep,
yes,
bylaws.
And
You can,
obviously we want to figure out a structure that you've got some strong leadership, an oversight, right? That we can't afford like Kent to be laissez-faire of, you know,
sure,
their
sure.
board of directors seem to be, you know, very hands-off, which didn't
And-
serve them well.
And that was one of the things when I met with Saginaw a couple of months ago. You know, I met with not only the Saginaw Public Defender's Office, but at the time, our regional director, Barb Klemaszewski, and actually our new regional director, Matt Lozen. And we talked about that. And, you know, they have seen it different ways across the state, and they were kind of alluding to this study and said, you know, there are counties or nonprofits that have a very hands-on board of directors, and there are nonprofits that had this board of directors. And they had recommended obviously having a more involved board of directors. What I think that looks like is probably quarterly meetings around the same time that we have to submit our quarterly reports to MIDC. Having quarterly quarterly meetings going over financials, going over, you know, all the other information that we have to submit to MIDC. You know, in terms of that, under a 501c3, you can operate for 6 months while your application's pending. Which I don't envision it getting it turned down, so.
Right.
You know, you can operate while the application is pending for 6 months. Because obviously 6 months from October 1 would be April 1st would have to be filed, but I don't envision a problem there.
But
So-
so you don't foresee like the timeline being an issue?
I don't,
October first seems really soon to
It does,
me.
Yeah.
it does,
And I mean,
it does, but
we've done the legwork, and that's why I say that, you know,
there's
for
good
the,
examples to follow.
there really
Man,
is, and I think,
look at this,
this.
Good.
it
Yeah.
was-
Don't do this.
Yeah, I think that it is a lot, but I mean, it's. The reason I say that the structure is what changes, the money. The money part of the application isn't hard, you know, one of the benefits is Grant bought all our furniture in that office, right? The grant paid to rehab that building, the grant paid for our laptops, the grant paid for our computers, so all that stuff we already have. It's not
Right,
starting
right.
from scratch, we're basically saying, we're just gonna transition this to 501(c)(3). We already have the dollars figured out, essentially, 'cause I mean, that stuff doesn't change from year to year. Last year, our grant was a little bit larger because we were buying brand new laptops at that, with the 5-year county plan. You know, one of the things I mentioned at the budget meeting last week was, you know, obviously, there is more administration on my part. So I think that the board of
Well, I
directors.
think there's gonna have to be, just looking over that study.
Yeah.
Like the board of directors needs to have one person that is basically between them and the, law group that is administratively, actively, checking and making sure that everything is covered, that everybody's doing proper process required by state. I'm not saying it has to be this way. I'm just saying
Sure.
we definitely need.
And that's a
Yeah,
larger
that's
organization
right,
too,
right.
right? You're talking about a
Right, that's-
staff of
I mean,
50
that's 80,
attorneys,
whatever it was,
80,
yeah.
50, 80 attorneys, whatever.
Yeah.
You've got district courts. and-
Right,
and
I
district-
realize we're gonna have a dozen if got more. counties,
Correct.
right?
So I
But,
mean, yes, if it grew to that regional, yes, I would think you would
Uh-huh.
need that. I think
Well,
we're
you're
not,
gonna need to write the bylaws to.
Correct.
To like be able to encompass other counties, right? So
Yeah,
the foresee, we're not gonna write bylaws to just think about Isabella County. We're gonna
Yeah.
write bylaws and that we're gonna incorporate probably Claire. We're gonna,
eventually, well, I mean,
Right, and,
you might
you know-
redo your bylaws should that occur, yeah.
Gladwin or
Yeah,
whoever,
yeah.
right?
Um,
Well, I mean,
I think
obviously you can
if
change your
you
bylaws,
grew
but
that-
it's better to have that vision, right, of
Yeah.
growth.
Yeah.
And oversight.
I think if you were to grow, I think that's where you need that, and
I
that
think
super
you're-
administrative position,
I think you're
right?
gonna have to grow.
I think, yeah, oh, absolutely.
I mean, you're gonna have to be like a health department model.
Mhm.
Where you're covering, they're covering 7 counties, right?
Yeah.
So, and they can pull in grant money that,
Yes.
one county cannot.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, I'm just like.
No, you're fine.
I'm
Like I said, I
thinking
think-
that's the direction we're moving.
Well,
And I think that's
5 years ago. right?
years,
Right.
Just
and I
get
think
it
that's
right.
years down the
No,
road,
no,
right?
and I think what
Yeah.
we've done so far is awesome.
Mhm.
I mean, we are way ahead of the game. Right now, from what we were 6 years ago. I mean, as far as, we're doing a huge, you guys are doing a huge service, right? And it doesn't just serve the people, but we're, having you guys there also, like people are, not gonna have to sit in jail because they don't have, representation to be at those first meetings and I'm amazed and, if I want to think of something happy, defense representation is one of those things. So, what we've done so far here with Sarah has built, is amazing. So, and you jumped right on when she left for the judge and have, built a good group.
Mhm.
So, and now, you know, you're still envisioning the future, so.
I appreciate that.
but-
Okay.
Okay, so what's, all right, so what's the next step for the board?
Ah.
Sorry.
No, Joe, I got some questions.
Yep.
So once we go to a nonprofit, I said, how is the regulatory changes? Who oversees the nonprofit? Does that add another agency in? Because of reporting to the nonprofits? Is that another level that we have to do? I know there's different recordings from nonprofits compared to where we're
Believe
at now.
so,
Okay,
but I'm not sure. I'll have to look.
I'm just
They have to
kind of,
be audited, you know, they
Yeah.
have their
Yeah.
tax
Yeah.
forms, you know,
Yeah.
so you have.
I just
CPA
wonder
work.
who oversees.
Correct, yep, and they have.
What
We would
department
get audited.
Yeah.
oversees that?
In going back to Saginaw, I know they had like a line item for like forensic accounting in their budget.
Yes,
They never actually got forensic accounting done that I know of, but I know that that was one thing that was included in their
Okay.
grant to cover that cost. And I have a feeler out to somebody, because like I said, there's this that, yes, has that kind of super administrative role, right? Should we grow? Yes, that's a position that's
Right.
probably necessary. Right now, no. I think that, you know, yes, there's more administrative duties that would fall on me. Because, well, not only myself, but my office manager too. Right now, all of a sudden, one of the things we talked about is the biggest change is the county doesn't get indirect costs anymore, right? Because they wouldn't be providing those services. Well, those services are falling on me and the office manager, right? We're in charge of payroll, we're in charge of managing the benefits, we're in charge of all that stuff. So yes, there is a larger administrative role that falls on myself and the office manager by making this switch. Absolutely.
So what happens when you go, let's apply for federal grants? Is there another level you have to report to, or would that?
Probably, yep. I would assume most grants require some,
That's why I was
same thing with our recovery
Yeah.
court program.
because right now,
uh,
you know, everything's within the state, but if you're going
Yep.
after more money sources.
Yep, same
you
thing.
get Same thing.
Yep,
So
they
you
would
have
require different reporting requirements. Yep.
reporting, and there's probably another level in
Yep.
there that you
Yeah.
needs to.
Yep.
immediately would, as the nonprofit, since they're getting government money, state money,
State,
they will be required to do an audit every year by a law firm.
yeah, I was just
and-
wondering when we go to the next year, you're looking for money from other sources.
Right.
Yeah,
Federal-
Other-
yeah,
It's another,
You'll have to get a federal review, and you might be able to do it from the same law firm. So. I'm not sure what the requirement would be on that side, but,
I'm not sure.
so.
Like I said, it's the same with any other grant applications, same with our recovery court, it's the same with, you know, pretrial service that we just talked about. There's all kinds of reporting requirements, so.
Feels like the right thing to do, feels like the right direction to go.
Do we
We are-
start by bringing forward, you know, proposed bylaws?
So like I said, our grant is due April 22nd. Our regional director, our new regional director, Matt Lozen, knows that we're talking about this, about making this switch. And so I've talked to him, I said, you know, I might not be ready to submit the whole thing on April 22nd, and they're well aware of that. And so, you know, we've kind of talked about it, and he said, well, just type in what you can and we'll put a pin in it. And then
Keep communicating.
what happened, you know, what happens is, you know, I've always submitted our grant on time.
Mhm.
And if we look back to what happened last year where we had the hiccup with salaries, right? We submitted it, it was approved, but then denied, and then we went back. So I mean, there's the submission date of April 22nd. MIDC then has their meeting in May, I think, May or June, to go over those submissions. There are frequently funding units on there that haven't submitted anything. There's no real penalty to that. So they know that we might be in this transition, we might be putting a pin in it and still working on it to get it submitted, you know, sometime throughout the summer. So,
And they don't have a problem with having the structure changed
no.
mid-contract, so you don't.
No, that was one of the questions I asked, because I said, it's not a
20,
plan change, it's going office to office. You know, if we were going contract-based system to office or office to contract-based system, yes, that would be a plan change. But changing just the structure of our organization, they told me is just a
operation.
Yeah, it's not a plan change and so we wouldn't need to wait for their approval is what I'm told, so.
I know some of the examples you looked at or that were noted there didn't have Board of Commissioner representation on the nonprofit board.
Correct. I think that's
Talking
vital.
with Tom, and we
think
think
it's
that's
important.
critical, you know, if the county's gonna maintain local share.
Yeah.
There's gotta be some.
You have to have your say in that. And that's my opinion. When I asked the question of another nonprofit, they said, oh, that would be a conflict of interest. I think I mentioned that to you guys before. I don't see it as one. I think it's vital to have your voice on that board of directors because of that local share. You're tied to it regardless. So why wouldn't someone from the board of commissioners be on that board of directors?
Since the money's coming through, the sheriff's department is it more? Since he's an elected official, is it more appropriate that he
He can
oversight?
the sheriff?
So like I'm not saying that he should be on the board. I'm just saying, maybe he assigned someone to be on the board. I realize that.
I think that's
the
one
Board
of-
Commissioners' money, we control the money, but if it's a sheriff's department,
Which part comes from the
Funding.
sheriff's department?
I thought, doesn't it go, MIDC go through the criminal? Like the funding route, like from us, the sheriff to you?
No,
No.
no.
All right, for some reason, I thought he was tied in with
No,
MIDC.
No, because I think,
Pass on this one.
yeah,
Okay,
I think
good,
that's one of the
Good.
things
That makes it
actually.
easier than my brain. I don't know why
Yeah.
I inserted that in.
I was gonna say, one of the things actually in here was they said who can and can't be on the board of directors, because in this example, they had a judge on the board of directors,
Mhm.
and they were like, you can't do that. And so, you know, there's very strict ABA guidelines, the American Bar Association, on who can serve on a board of directors for a nonprofit providing indigent defense, and yeah, law enforcement, prosecutor, judge. Actually, anyone that accepts appointments.
Okay.
So one of my first thoughts was actually reaching out to one of our contract attorneys to see if he was interested, and that was in here, so that's a no-go. But
So how, I know you probably got an idea, is how big would this board be as far as numbers?
I mean, I don't think it needs to be huge. I think,
And
Seven?
Yeah,
Like
I was
seven.
saying 6 or 7.
yeah,
how far out? Like you said, there's prohibits, judges and everything, but how far out would you expand what you're looking for as far as somebody that has nothing to do with the legal system, more of a community person? You know what I'm saying? Just for a different,
yeah,
an idea, you
Sure.
might want somebody that's a little bit separated, because we are talking public defenders,
Yeah, I mean.
a
and I
community
think you
leader.
Probably, you
something
want to
completely.
engage the tribe as well.
yeah.
One of the committees,
Locally,
one of the committees
investor.
that I was on, and we had our own federal agency that oversaw us, but they actually demanded that they always called them outside directors that had no tie to the ag community, because they wanted a different point of view on there. And I actually kind of fought it until I actually had a couple of those guys on there, and it turned out to be one of the best resources, because
Eye-opening, yeah.
they see things differently. They're out of the community that,
You mean the silo?
yeah.
No pun intended.
We won't get into it. We're being recorded. So. We got lawyers on here. I've learned my lesson a long time ago. So. No, the advantage of having somebody with it's a little bit, take that into consideration when
Sure,
you're setting
sure.
that up, because those are valuable. They see stuff that you don't see sometimes, and it's just, if you can find somebody that actually wants to serve on
Yeah,
a board.
that's the other part.
Mhm.
Well, that's why a lot of times you tie these positions to areas. right? Like certain number of positions will be lawyers and then
Yeah.
one, and then, one position maybe the tribe and then one is the board of
You know,
commissioners.
or, I'm thinking, maybe someone from.
Four lawyers and two.
From the
other-
rural community, cause you might get a little different type of
Mhm.
crime or a little bit different than the
Absolutely.
city and, sometimes
Absolutely.
you get that other experience in there you might not have. So
Yeah.
just look into that when you're looking to set that up.
So what is our next step to move forward? Is it just the application on April 22nd? Do we
I
need to
think the
bring
first,
charade change to the board?
first step is I think you actually need to get your committee committed to, of course, the paperwork to set it up there, but you can't really turn the paperwork on
You need a
there
board.
until you get your board in there. So, to get people committed, get that structured. Of course, the bylaws. Of course, you can go from other counties to
Exactly.
grab it. So that
Exactly.
should be,
Yeah, I mean, you can write the bylaws and then the board can adjust the bylaws in time.
what you need to get, I don't know if you need to get the human factor in first, because that's gonna be the commitment.
So I guess, would it make sense to bring something forward the next go around with the bylaws and ask for a representative from either
From
the board or the CJ committee
Yeah.
to be on that board of directors. And then, like I said,
Or-
I've reached out to a few others already as well. Like I said, partners from community mental health and
Or start a working group that is gonna end up as being the board.
As
So,
that
Yeah.
will be the board.
so get a group together and they work together. And the ones that's gonna be probably on the board are gonna be the ones that work on it and they can, because they're gonna be, eventually they're gonna be on.
Cause it's yours
The
until
board.
it's theirs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that would be a good transition, I would think.
And then because there'll be ones that'll be running it, so they'll have major input on
sure.
who to get there. But that's just my opinion. I think you need to get the people on board. Because you got a lot of the paperwork. The filing, they said you got 6 hours.
You
Well,
can
my other-
operate for 6 months with the application pending.
That's what one of my questions was, is that you answered it right away as
Yeah.
far as that. So that would be, even though that's even pushing it 6 months is doable if you get
Yeah.
the right people on there and you're pushing it hard enough, you can get it done, so. But I
I would
would,
say a proposed bylaws.
like I said, ask for a representative from the board if you want one on there.
Yep. Like I said, I think that's necessary.
Yeah,
Yep.
Given the way this started, I do.
Yeah, well, I mean, regardless, just because of the local share. I mean,
or maybe just ask for, like I said, ask for a work group and then once the work group get there, that person transition over with board approval and then you'll be, once you're ready to submit it as the document for the board, and then by that time you'll have when you're gonna meet, how you're gonna meet, all the kind of that great, the details down, but I think it's important to get your group together first.
Mhm.
Doesn't have to be named, a certain thing, as long as you get the people committed.
That's number one. It
So-
sounds like you've got some good ideas.
Do we need to do any sort of board approval for the change in the April 22nd submission?
You'll see the submission.
yeah,
Everybody has
we'll
to
have
know.
some sort of a submission ready to go on April 20. I mean, it's more or less already done. I mean, nonprofit, county department, it's pretty much done. It's once it's plugging in numbers.
You'll
Right.
bring that to April, the
Yep,
first or
the
second.
first April, yep, April 8th, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, the chairman can appoint somebody to the work group, that can be done real easy, and then try to get that.
That's a good way. of
Then
going.
once you get the timeline figured out, or get that group, we'll have more idea on timelines, once you get a group that's actually gonna oversee the nonprofit.
And I think Tom's got what he needs for today. I think he was just,
Yeah.
what's the flavor? What's the
Yeah.
appetite? What
Yeah.
way are we
Yeah.
going? And I think it's pretty clear if
Wow.
your public defender is recommending this as a direction, I think it's pretty clear that you're ready to follow him.
Well, of course, I was on the committee that,
Mhm.
and, you know, we thought we were doing everything. And I think it was a good
I do
decision
too.
that we went that way.
Yeah,
But-
absolutely.
But things change and that's the way, you know, this seems to be the more logical way to go, so.
Mhm.
All right,
As long as you got somebody that wants to do all the work.
Gotta find them first.
We
Let me know when you find
We
them.
do appreciate the time you put in. I know how much work it is, so.
Thank you.
So. I guess if there are no more, we'll move to announcements. Any announcements, Commissioner?
I do not.
Okay, we will do one more call to the public. I do not see anybody in the room physically. Is there anybody online that would like to make a comment at this time?
Do not see any hands raised at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I will close call to public and call the meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Hey,